Tonight, we step into territory that has fascinated humanity for generations. What we're talking about? It's those lights in the sky, metallic discs hovering over the desert, pilots chasing objects that move in ways that aircraft should not be able to, whispers of underground bases, alien autopsies, government cover-ups, and now, talk of disclosure. So this is a slightly longer video. I'll put it on my YouTube channel and also on the Instagram page. If you're just getting this as the short video and you want to see the whole of the entirety, please click onto the pages to have a look at it. You see, the question now is not, are we alone? The question is, why does this topic keep resurfacing at pivotal moments in history? Let's start when modern sightings truly accelerated. The Second World War. You've got Allied pilots flying over Europe and the Pacific beginning to report strange glowing orbs pacing their aircraft. These objects would you'd literally follow them, dart around the wings, move intelligently and then disappear. And they weren't German weapons. They weren't American either, because both sides reported seeing them. The American pilots who began chasing these craft became known as Foo Fighters. These weren't conspiracy theorists. They were trained military pilots and observers, men trusted with the latest aircraft in the US arsenal, with life and death missions. But what happened? Well, their reports were logged, debriefed, filed, and then silence. No explanation that satisfied everyone. And then we fast forward to 1947. A rancher in the US finds debris outside the town of Roswell. Military initially announces that they've recovered a flying disc, and that headline ran in the local papers. But within hours, the story changed. Oh yeah, it was just a weather balloon. Decades later, the explanation evolves again. It was part of a classified surveillance effort designed to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. So what really happened? Was it extraterrestrial? Was it experimental tech? Or was it something classified that the public simply wasn't clear to understand? What Roswell did, regardless of what fell from the sky, was plant a seed in the public consciousness. Because the government said one thing, then another, and the trust fractured. But from that fracture, modern UFO culture was born. And then we've got Area 51. For decades, it was dismissed as a myth, until the CIA, only in 2013, acknowledged its existence. They stated that it was a testing ground for experimental aircraft, the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird. Stealth technology so advanced that when civilians saw it in the sky, it looked alien. Think about that. If you saw technology 50 years ahead of what you believed possible, what would your mind label it as? Now we move into the modern era, because today we've got, super advanced optics, we've got FLIR systems, advanced radar, carrier strike groups tracking objects that accelerate with no visible propulsion, and the Pentagon releasing footage and saying these are unidentified aerial phenomena. Not aliens, unidentified. On top of that, something really interesting happened. Barack Obama publicly acknowledged that there are objects in the sky that we don't fully understand. And he's not a late night radio show host. He's not a whistleblower in hiding. He is a former US president. And in the last couple of days, Donald Trump has just spoke about declassifying all the information, releasing files, letting people see what the government knows. But here's where we need to slow down, because unidentified does not mean extraterrestrial, but it also does not mean insignificant. It means that there are things operating in our airspace that do not fit neatly into known categories. And that is a fact. And when you combine that with 70 plus years of secrecy, you kind of get the perfect storm for speculation. So let's go somewhere where most people are afraid to go. Operation Bluebeam. This is a theory that suggests a staged extraterrestrial event could be used to unify humanity under a centralised global authority. So is there actually verified evidence this programme exists? No. But here is what's verified. Governments conduct psychological operations, even as recently as during the pandemic. Intelligence agencies manipulate narratives. False flag events have occurred throughout history. You've heard me talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Problem, reaction, solution. Crises create compliance. Fear accelerates authority. And if we look at the world today, we've got fractured societies, cultural division, economic instability, war flaring across continents, nuclear rhetoric casually floated on the news cycles daily. If you were in government and you were designing a mechanism to unite humanity overnight, what would you introduce? Well, an external threat, because nothing unifies tribes faster than a common enemy. That's not a conspiracy, it's just human psychology. But there's also a spiritual element to it. You see, scripture speaks of deception, of powers and principalities, of signs and wonders that could mislead even the elect. Now, I'm not saying that little green men are demons, but I am saying this. If an intelligence beyond our understanding exists, biological, interdimensional, technological or spiritual, how would we distinguish it from advanced deception? See, Arthur C. Clarke once said that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Take that one step further, could sufficiently advanced deception be indistinguishable from revelation? We know that we live in an age of AI-generated reality nowadays, deepfakes, holographics, narrative engineering. So if tomorrow the sky lit up with structured craft hovering over every major capital city, how would we even verify it? Would we trust the broadcast that we saw on the internet or on the TV? You see, the same institutions that nudged populations during the pandemics, the same structures that shape election cycles, the same intelligence communities that openly admit to psychological operations on their domestic populations, how would we know? Would we pause? Let's consider a different angle though. What if there actually is something out there? Because the universe is so vast, it's beyond our comprehension. We've got billions of galaxies, trillions of planets. Barack Obama in that same interview said that it would be very surprising if we were actually alone, even though he was saying that we hadn't had contact with alien life forms. And statistically, that is a reasonable position to take. But here's the deeper question. If disclosure comes, what does it change? Does it collapse religion? Or does it actually expand our understanding of creation? Does it unite humanity? Or does it justify new layers of control? Because disclosure is not just about what is revealed, it's about who controls what's revealed. If files are released, they will not be raw chaos, they'll be curated, and we've seen this with the Epstein files that have been released. They've been selected, timed, framed, and timing matters. Why now? Why during technological acceleration? Why during geopolitical instability? Why when digital identity systems are being discussed? And why when AI can simulate almost anything? Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's just the way my brain thinks. Maybe it's transparency finally surfacing and it's took the US President Donald Trump to do that for us. Or maybe, like every major shift in history, it's part truth, part strategy. And then there's another possibility. What if the greatest deception isn't that aliens are here, but that we're conditioned to look outward for salvation or threat instead of inward for awakening? Because throughout history, humanity has projected power into the sky. Gods descending, chariots of fire, angels, and now spacecraft. The form changes, the sky remains the theatre, the place out there. We don't know. And anyone who claims certainty is selling comfort. Because there are documented sightings, there are military acknowledgements, there is a historical secrecy, and there is technological advancement beyond public understanding, but there's also myth, exaggeration, and psychological amplification. The mature position always is not blind belief, it's alert awareness. Because if disclosure comes, have a look at who benefits, watch which policies follow, watch which freedoms are traded, and watch whether unity is organic or orchestrated. In regards to the spiritual element, stay grounded. Truth does not fear investigation. God is not threatened by the galaxies that he created. And deception always thrives in emotional reaction. So when the headlines start screaming, when the files drop, when the footage circulates, ask not only, is this real? Ask, why now? Who frames it? And what are we being prepared to accept? Because whether this is about extraterrestrials, advanced tech, or narrative management, the deeper battle is always the same. Consciousness, fear, authority, and faith. Are we alone? Maybe. maybe not. But the greater question is this: are we sovereign in our thinking, or are we waiting for something in the sky to tell us what to believe? That is the real disclosure.